All right, we did $650,000 in cash collected last month, and here's some lessons that I learned. And the reason why I do these videos is again, just so I can remember what we're doing at the time that we're doing it, figuring out what were the key movers, what were the key drivers that we use to use as accelerants for revenue of our company. Again, my name is Dan, and currently what we do is we help tax advisors scale through adding tax planning. In the last 28 months, we've grown from zero to $6.6 million in cash collected, and now we're growing, pretty substantially faster. Recently, I actually just bought this book, or bought these playbooks from Alex Ramosi, $100 million playbooks. And if you saw any of my previous trainings or previous education, that you probably saw what I talked about as far as the launch is concerned. And I want to talk you through some of the things that I learned just this month from doing our highest month ever of $652,242, something like that. And inside that month that we just, came off of, one of we had 2 days where we had record-breaking days. I'm talking about $100,000 cash collected days. And so, if you've been following along, some of the core competencies that we've been using to get here was we're more of an events company than anything else. We run a lot of events. We run a lot of webinars, one-to-many trainings, and um, this month, we had a target to hit this month, and we fell a little bit short of the target. But in some of the thinking that got us to be able to at least hit $650,000 could possibly help you and help me, at least the future me, to remember what do we do? How do we get here? And I'll take you back real quick. In August, we wanted to hit a target of about $700,000 because we wanted to do $2 million in cash collected this quarter. And so in, what was it, August? Yeah. July, I think we did close to $400,000. And then um, in August, we just finished out at 650, and which means the change is about $700,000. But instead of wanting to double up in September, we wanted to pull as much as we can in August to be able to lighten the load, if you will, for September, and also know if we can get there. And so it's great to know that we were able to get there. And so I want to talk you through some of the things that I was thinking through and how we came up with this. So in the beginning, my CEO and I, David, came to a meeting, and we were like, what are all the opportunities we can use to be able to grow where we haven't grown before? Meaning, um, I think the highest cash collected month up until this point have been about $500,000, which we hit about 3 months ago, 4 months ago. And we were hovering right around $420,000 a month or something like that. And we're like, how do we crack past this? And so we looked back at kind of some of our numbers, and there was some core things that I realized that I was like, if we made these plays work, then they would work really well. One of those being events. So we done events. And so I'm going to talk you through events first, specifically because that was, if you just get that, more events equals more money. It's just very simply that. Okay. And so in the month of August, we had a couple days where we did $100,000 a day, and we had a couple, actually through 2 weeks or 3 weeks, where we hit 200,000 plus cash collected in just a matter of days. And so to be able to set up for that, you have to do it early on in the month, right? To be able to plan for this. And events take time, so you can't just pop up an event. So you need to be planning these things a little bit earlier on in the journey. I say about 21 days prior to. So we had been planting the seed in July for what's going to happen in August, for it to flourish in August, because events do take time. There's this unspoken thing about natural attribute. How do we say this? There's like a delay cycle, if you will, on every activity you do. So, like for an example, I do this video. Um, there's probably not going to be anybody that watches it right now, but maybe one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, about 2 weeks from now, someone will pick it up and they'll be like, "Oh, that's good," and then it starts picking up momentum and starts picking up momentum. At least that's how what I perceive would happen. And inside of the business world, we have seen that happen too. It takes about 2 weeks to fully kind of grasp the idea that we planted a couple of weeks ago. Okay. And so more events. So in the month of August, if I'm remember this correctly, we did a webinar. So we do webinars to an event to an event. And that's how our process is to get people to buy. And um, we did more webinars this month, and from our webinar, we sell $1,000 offer. And so we sold about 100 of those $1,000 offers, which that's contributes to about $100,000 thing. And so if I just look at how many services or products we had in this suite, if you will, for the 650, we had about nine different opportunities to make revenue in this month. And so we wrote them all down, right? We wrote down all the revenue activities and we said which event will sell these revenue driver offers, if you will. Which events can we place them into strategically? A couple of events flopped, I'll be very honest. One that I really, really thought was going to do very, very well took a complete, just utter failure. And I almost, felt so bad. But the great thing is that we had so many events that we can make it up with more events, right? So events was one. Number two, more events was one. Number two was what we did was we found, and this is me just talking to me back, and I said this to our CS team lead and our team, and I said, okay, well, a lot of the time we're spending. Um, let me give you some context. So she wanted to make a really big difference in our company, and so I wanted her to, and I was like, yeah, man, but the things you're doing, you're already doing great at. So you have to kind of like do something subtly different. And I had this inclination that we're doing something incorrectly further up on the funnel, meaning further up on the strategy. And I said, something's not right over here. Something's not right. We should be making a lot more money over there. And it should kind of translate backwards this way. It should just kind of spill over, if you will, like a waterfall. And so I had this inclination probably about 2 or 3 months ago, and I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. And I'm going to tell you this thing that I did, and this could probably help you guys if you have something that people are paying you paying you any amount of dollars. And so I said, okay, we have a software where people pay us $297 a month. And currently we are working to try to get more people that start a free trial to stay on the trial, right? And I had this inclination. I said, what if we just go for people that paid $997 and find out why these people have not gone up to our $15,000 program? Tell me why. Like I want to know why. And so I looked at the kind of the thing and I said, get me the data, right? Give me the data. That's very important. Give me the data. And I said, I have this inclination that we already have people that we're talking to the wrong people. We're using our resources and our team on the wrong people. And so what we found out, we did a study where we just tell our team like, don't do anything for a whole day. Don't do nothing, absolutely nothing. And I didn't even tell them to. I didn't tell them anything. And the reason why is because if I would have planned this ahead, like we would have planned it ahead, the team naturally is so good that they're just like, I'm going to tell all my members. But that wasn't the goal. That wasn't the test. The test was to find out what would break if we did nothing that day or, for the next couple of hours. And what we found was crazy is that nothing broke, right? And what was even crazier was that the team was working on things that they probably weren't, as efficient. And so what we did is I had them get a list of all of our clients that have been paying us, that paid us $997, $1,000, or watch this, or paid us 4 months in a row consecutively for the software, which is the $297. Okay. And so if you just look at that, that's about the equivalent. So someone who had prepaid 6 months in advance or someone that had paid 4 months. Now, the reason why that's a key number is because they're about the same number. So 997, and if you do 297 times 4, that's roughly the same. I want to find apples to apples as close to the number as possible. And so we consider that, we call that the MVP list. Okay, this is going to be very, very important later on in this story here to get $650,000 a month. And so I had them redistribute their attention. I told the CS our CS team, I said, hey, Instead of doing all that over there, working on people that weren't likely to pay us, weren't likely to pay us long term, and weren't likely to help us, really move the needle, I said, why don't you just work on this MVP list for the next quarter, even for the next month? Let's see if we can make a real big difference here. And she did so, and they did so, and that added at least $60,000 a month since what are we? September, August. July. So in July, they really started to kick this thing off. And then in August, really started to shape up because we invited those people to an event. And this is what we call an ascension event. So this event here, we take people into this event and we bring them up. We can do it one on one, but one to many, we can get a flush of cash all at one time. And so we had to invite them, and so when they were invited, we got to ascend them to our core product, which is the $2,500 a month offer, which for 6 months, that comes out to $15,000. And so we wanted as many people, the right people in that room. Here's what happened. We did that. 60 I think it was like 80% of the room ascended into the higher level offer. Why? Because we were strategic about who we wanted in the room instead of commingling people in the room. We were very strategic about who got in the room. And that was a ninja play by the CS team. That was phenomenal play for them. And for us, like for my CEO, he loved it because he's like, oh my gosh, like everybody in the room said yes, which is great. It's a great like feeling because we're traditionally we close about 37% of the room always. But now with this strategy here, we closed double. Double. That's double. That's crazy. Okay. And then we had our normal 2 day event, which our 2 day event is kind of like our core selling mechanism. Like everything goes to this thing, right? We try to push every avenue to this 2 day event as possible virtually. Okay. And that we do that once a month. And so we try to push as many people into that thing as possible. We try to find different avenues to it. Instead of changing things, we try to push as many things into it as possible. And I didn't learn that until I talked to, his name's Richard. He's in the inner circle from Russell Brunson. And I saw a presentation he did about the bridges to his offer. And I was like, he talks about tiny challenges, but I was like, no, that's the real key right there, the bridges part. And so when he talked about the bridges to the main offer, I was like, oh, that's what we're missing. Boom, that was the thing. So we had multiple different bridges going to that event. And on top of that, here's what we did. David has great connections in the tax industry because that's where he came from. And so he went and talked to some of his buddies and did a JV partnership. Now, what that means is basically a joint venture. So, hey, let's partner up on a training together. So you send your people my way, I'll send my people your way. Sound good? Great. So we did that for two people in the month of August. Okay. And that contributed to a good portion of those people that paid $1,000. So the webinar, at the end of that JV webinar, we produced a 997 sale. Same thing like we do with cold traffic. Now with the JV partner, we give them half of the $1,000 offer. So they get $500 per person that purchases from that partnership. And that was phenomenal. It's just on the front end though. It's not on the back end. So most of those people showed up to the 2 day virtual event. Actually, we had our highest show up rate ever too. So we're normally about 70% or thereabouts show up rate. This time, 82% of people showed up, which is phenomenal. And what I've been doing in between is, I started working with our sales team, and what I started to do and what I realized was conviction matters more than the product. And so what I was working with them this month was really building their conviction that this could work. And so I would go through stories. Hey, this person did this person did that, this person did that, this person did that. And it helped because this month I actually sold a completely cold client into a $15,000 offer paid in full right off the bat, right? One call, talk to me, turned into $15,000 paid right there. Okay. And I didn't use any events. I didn't use any webinars. I didn't use any VSLs. I didn't do anything, but I did do a strategic process of doing that. If you do want to know what I did, you can just comment I don't know, scale, and I'll do a video about it. But no less, I didn't, I completely closed that client, and it gave them conviction that, hey, what I'm teaching them works because these people, this person did not know anything about us, but then we helped them close. But it was all about building conviction. And so what I did was I started training them on the call. Specifically, I was breaking down the call into a couple frames. And then what I did before we were about to pitch in the 2-day event, which we had more people than ever before because of the partners and because we spent a little bit more on ads. I had a meeting with them about 30 to 45 minutes, and I did this with them. And I noticed it worked the first time. So I'm like, let me see if this actually works, right? Because we had the similar results the month before prior. Said, before that we had inconsistent results with payments, right? We had inconsistent pay in fulls, we had inconsistent payment plans and all that stuff. It was very inconsistent as far as results are concerned. And then I'm like, let me see if this works. So I tested again. So I tested it again, and here's what I did. Right before David is going to do the pitch, I have a meeting with them, and that on that meeting, I just go through stories of our clients succeeding with our program. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to build internal confidence for these people on the call, my sales guys. I wanted to build internal confidence so when they talk, they know that this person won, 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 that person won, that person won, that's person that. In every scenario, I wanted them to be understanding of the kind of person that's buying so that their story can align with the story they're about to talk to the person. That is key. I mean, that thing, and as soon as the close went on, I mean, we had a higher cash collected percentage, right? Like massive jumps. More people paid through because we do a deposit, then they paid through. More people paid through. More people paid in full. That was our first $100,000 day from that 2-day event. And then right after that 2-day event, we had like a 5-day gauntlet, which was the ascension event that we talk about. And then we have a what we call an 8-figure event. Now that's another ascension. So think about it like kind of like stages. So stage one, they get a little offer, $1,000. Stage two, they it's a $15,000 offer. Stage three, we have upsell or cross sell into a different thing. And then stage, whatever the stage is up here, they have another higher stage, right? But we had from stage one to stage two, we only had one journey going there. And so what we did was we built another one to go to the mid ticket thing, to the $15,000 thing. We call that tax, the whatever. The names are independent, but we had an ascension event on Monday and Tuesday, and then we had a different ascension event on Wednesday and Thursday. Now, I can't give away all the details about what we offered, but we offered something brand new, and I can't talk about it publicly. I wish I could, but I can't. Um, and that thing took off more than, I mean, we kind of anticipated it, but we closed another 60% of the room, and all of them, let me see here. 85% of them paid in full. Probably 90. 95 and 90, about 90% of them paid in full. Okay. And so the offer was like message, market, match, offer, dialed. Boom, let's go. So now we have those two things, and those were our back-to-back $100,000 days. And those things with the weekly webinars, with the 2-day event, with the Ascension event, with the in-person. So we had two in-person Ascension events, right? And we had one virtual new business event. So that worked really well. And then we had our consistency of our daily webinars, or bi-daily, I guess you could say, every other day webinars. So those things fed our low ticket. Our 2-day event fed our mid ticket, and then our in-person events fed our upsell events. And so if you think about it, there was three things happening all at once: one, two, and three. And so when we stacked all those three opportunities together, that's how you come up with a $650,000 month. And so another big thing we did in this month was we did not discount things. We started to, we didn't pull our prices down. We actually leveled up to our offer. And really what we did was we changed who was seeing the offer. That was a huge difference, that we changed by seeing who we're, who we're going after. And um, the greatest thing about that, to wrap it all up, I know I messed up with all the steps and everything, but hopefully you watch back and you understand where I'm coming from. I guess the most important thing was we became obsessed about the data. Like I knew exactly what numbers we had to hit the target. And so if I looked at my sheet right now, I looked back at my sheet and I said, how close did we get to that? So we hit 650. On the sheet that I had at the beginning of the month, we were projected to hit 660. I just looked at the sheet right now, right before I went I did this training. And so when you combine those nine revenue opportunities with the three stages, if you will, the three offer entry points, combined with, all things kind of working in our favor and the team cranking out some amazing wins and some amazing results, you find yourself close to $1 million a month. And I don't see how this, I can see it getting more impactful and moving the needle faster because of the new thing that we're going to implement in the middle. This is going to expand what they call the TAM, or the addressable market. And yeah, so I share that with you. These are some lessons. Micro influencers, which were the people that allowed us to JV with them, tracking our data like crazy, meticulously tracking. Um, Going up market, so selling up, moving people up the ladder rather than having to focus solely on new business. Now, we got a lot of new business this month, probably more than ever before. But working with our ideal clients, talking to our ideal clients, changing like the messaging to only talk to our ideal clients and not talk to, newbies. Really, we're talking more to more professionals, and as a result, we get paid more professionally. And let me see here. What am I missing? I know I have some notes on my computer. Let me see here. Bridge events, so meaning more ways to get into our events. So more ways to get into our offers than just one event or one offer. Okay. Let me see here. Track the numbers. I almost missed one. So when I said earlier, I said the team was focusing on the wrong things, right? But just changing their structure of how what they focus on is not enough because they get excited for a moment. But then the moment fizzles out because it's like in this case, it's my goal, not theirs. And so, yeah, of course, people can buy into our vision or whatever, whatever the vision is, and they can buy into the vision. But if the vision doesn't align with what they want, then they're not going to push as hard. And so what we did was we incentivized them to push on their behalf. So meaning we will align their professional, financial, and personal goals with revenue. And we said, okay, if we hit this, you can hit your personal, professional, financial goals. And we had some of our team members for the first time ever, like doing things we never thought possible. And seeing the sparkle in their eyes, like seriously, like I mean, I could just be here all day just talking about how great the team is and like what the secret unlock is here. Man, just having a team that's all rowing in the same direction. And yeah, even if the profit margins are not as beautiful as everything else, just having alignment and having them excited about doing something, it's worth it, man. It's so worth it because most people get stuck on profit margins and they forget that the people that helped you contribute to that profit margin, you're getting rich on their backs, and that's okay for some people. But if you really want to build a culture inside your company and make people move in directions, you cannot be the pusher. You need to create structures so that they can push themselves. And that was a key driver there. So meaning like people who had never gotten a certain compensation for a certain type of result now started, and oh my gosh, their eyes, their eyes sparkled like never before. They started, you know, it was phenomenal to see. And like opportunities growing in their minds that they never thought possible. It's just when I see that from them, I know I'm like, got it. We got a protected business. This business is powerful now because the people in the business are powerful, right? Because before it was just, just one person, two people pushing the ball forward, and it was like, oh, beating it up, beating down this goal. But then when we had more team members wanting to push that goal forward because it had something on their half, like what they wanted from this, that's when everything really started to turn around. So, on that note, I mean, again, I could talk all day about these things, but this is the reason why I do these videos is so that I can remember, because I have a hard time remembering things. I could remember, and what were we doing at this time? What were we thinking? What were we trying to achieve? And it's almost like a documentation of like the thoughts that, I'll have with David, or I'll have with our CSM team, or I'll have with our sales team, or I'll have with our marketing team. And like, what are we doing here? And this is really so I can look back and say, oh, these were the things that we were thinking. These were the things we were doing at that time. Because it's oftentimes when you're doing business, it's hard to look back. And this is kind of like me just documenting the journey, if you will. And if it helps anybody out, that's great. I actually, what? I still do have. I did get the books. I got about 200 books. If you do want one of these books still, I think I still have the code. So you could just comment book below, and then I'll give you the link so you can get a free book from Hermosi. Other than that, um, that was how we hit $650,000 cash collected in the month of August. And this is me documenting exactly how we got there. So see you on the next one. Peace.